I mean, I think there is some commentary in the film about like how difficult it is to get all the nations of the world to even work together in the first place and stuff like
Yes.
that. Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
I'll accept that. But now that we're talking about the science and the international relations of it and the ethics of it, I want to talk about the ethics of how Grace ends up on that ship. Because for the plot to work, you have to believe that Ava Stratz can get away with doing that. Excuse me, I'm actually not convinced she can.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think she can. I think the
Why?
leap of logic that I have to believe for that to happen is I'm really struggling with it. Because NASA, now mind you, this film is NASA propaganda, is USA propaganda, and that but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time they can't bring themselves to criticize Americans too much, which is why she's a German. Even though
Mm.
Grace is proudly walking around in astronaut uniform with USA flags all over himself all the time, but she herself, who is responsible for this like
Yeah.
miscarriage of justice and extremely inhumane action, and she's basically acting on behalf of this conglomerate of people, which is heavily led and funded by NASA. But they made sure she's unambiguously not American.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't
Anyway,
even clock that at the time, but yeah, it's true.
yeah, I just feel like in the world we live in, and again, this is kind of like an alternative universe, so I don't need to apply real life logic to everything that happens in films, but in the world we live in, if NASA is doing, we just saw the Artemis 2 expedition that just happened. In the world we live in, if NASA is doing any kind of expedition that involves sending human beings, especially United States American astronauts, into outer space, the world will know. It's not something you can actually physically hide, right? It's not like Area 53 or whatever area. It's not like Area 51 where you can hide where the aliens are. No, 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 no. It's like global airspace and atmosphere is such that people can tell when a country has sent someone
Mm.
out into space. And for the safety of the astronauts, they need to let the rest of the world know. They don't need to let the rest of the world know every detail of what their plan is, but they need to know
And
that
that's my
X
point.
number of
Yeah.
people are going out to space. Do I really believe that the amount of congressional and international scrutiny that will be required will allow them get away with drugging a U.S. citizen and putting him on that on that rocket ship against his will and nobody noticed? Really?
I think the point is that nobody noticed because he doesn't have anyone to notice in his life. I get what you're saying that like it feels unlikely. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not as optimistic, let's say. Especially because as you mentioned, sure, you can't necessarily send things to space without any detection. The United States is not the only one that, um, looks into space, right? But they can lie about what happened. So they can put
Mm.
people on the aircraft and then tell the public, oh, we're doing an expedition. Oh, we're just going to take some photographs and rare, rare, rare. And then obviously, by the time we already know that that aircraft is gone, they're never coming back. They'll come and say, oh, there was this really bad mistake.
Okay.
Oh, it went
Noted.
wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
especially
Fair
if it's
enough.
at that level of seriousness for the existence of the planet, and naturally as things are today, at least the United States would absolutely want to get in front of that before anyone else, because if there has to be a fight to get onto a planet, for example, or if there has to be a fight over resources, look at what's happening today. As of, what's the date today? The 11th of April. That's all I have to say. 11th
Ooh,
of April 2026. Yeah.
ooh. Do we buy Ryan Gosling as a scientist or is this Hollywood BS?
No, I don't believe that he's a scientist. And I'm not saying that because he's goofy or anything like that. God knows a lot of our peers at Oxford in the science departments were goofy, so it's got nothing to do with that. Um I think it's because he doesn't I think for you to be someone who knows or is educated in a scientific subject to that degree, you do require a certain amount of obsession. Because if you don't have that, you just won't survive. It's as simple as that. You won't even get in at that point, frankly. And that didn't come across for me. It just kind of felt like he
Mm.
was nonchalant about everything. And I understand that they're doing that to illustrate to us that this is a man who's very lonely and doesn't feel like he has to live for anything. But again, that type of person is just not going to be able to like be in the scientific world at that level, right? So what did you think?
Did you feel he was too sexy to be a scientist?
No, I've seen hotter. My high school physics teacher. What do you think?
I was actually thinking about it that I was thinking about uni and all of our lab supervisors and stuff like that. And I was thinking, like, did we have Hollywood-looking people in our department? Definitely not the heads of faculty, but there were always, like, master students and DPhil students that would be involved in tutorial groups, and some of them were even hooking up with the undergrads, which was low-key problematic.
But let's not,
And some of them were good-looking people, yeah. Many of them were not. Many of our peers in our chemistry degree were not, but some of them were. And actually, when I was in sixth form, the only other person that got into Oxbridge from my year, alongside me, and he was also a chemist, was arguably the most good-looking white boy in our entire year. And like he was like one of the most popular boys. He was widely considered to be very fine, and he just happened to be like very good at chemistry and maths and stuff as well. So it do be like that.
So who's saying that? That's a harmful stereotype.
No, it's a whole thing. You know, the whole thing about like the Hollywood version of a doctor, the Hollywood version of a pilot. Like it's always like they Hollywoodify them and people don't buy it. I don't buy him as a scientist, but it's not because of his perceived attractiveness.
My physics teacher at school, he went to Oxford, I believe. He actually helped me to get into uni, and like all the girls were crazy over him, including myself. So he was very, very good looking, handsome guy. I believe he's Greek or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Very handsome. So no, sorry guys, scientists can be hot.